Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how to build dynamic menus when you are creating tools. So let's start by dropping down a geometry. And then here I'm just going to drop down some random stuff like a sphere and a box and a tube. And then of this I'm going to drop down a wrangle. And this would be a name. So I do s name equals to a sphere in this case. And then I'm going to copy this here. So copy, doon. So this here is going to be a box. And this here is going to be tube. And then I'm going to select them all, right click and drop down a merge. And at the end I'm going to drop down a null. And this null will be in shapes. So if we look into a spreadsheet, we can see that we have this name attribute, and you can see that the box is occurring as more than once. That is just because the box is a mesh, so it has more than one point, while the sphere and the tube are just primitives. Cool. Alright, so let's make a subnet out of this. So a subnet, and then I'm going to go into this edit parameter interface. And the first thing I'm going to do is hide these inputs because they're kind of pointless. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this menu. So I take a string attribute, so I drag this string in here, call this menu, and then I go to this menu tab. And if you want to do a static menu, you would just check use menu, and then you can just type here, and then you would have static menu. You can also see here that you have two values. You have a token and a label, and the token is the actual value that you're going to read when you read the menu, and then label is just what you see here in the menu. So you need to have pairs of values. But in our case, we want to have a dynamic thing, so we're going to go to menu script instead. And if you are running an old version of Houdini, this will be set to H script, so you need to change it to Python, but nowadays it's Python by default. So you go in here, and the first thing we need to do is we need to go to this node here. We're going to get the geometry and the points on that geometry, and then the name attribute is attached to that. So let's go to geo equals to who node, and then we do dot slash. That means we go into the node, and then we're going to take this here in shapes. So now we are accessing that node, and we want the geometry from that node. So geometry. Cool, that's the first step. And the next thing we want to do, we want to have a list. So I'm going to do a menu list here, and that will be equals to a bracket to show that it's an array. And then let's loop through this geometry. Let's loop through the points that this geometry has. And so we're going to do for point in geo and iter points, which tells us to iterate through the points. And then a colon. And then I tab in here, and I'm going to build this menu list now. Or actually, at first I'm just going to grab the name attribute from that point. So I go to name equals to is the point, and then an attribute value on that point, and that attribute value will be name, as you remember. That was the attribute. Cool. Okay, so now I have this. Now I just need to put that into that menu list. So I do menu list, and I'm going to append the name. And as you remember, I need a pair, so I'm just going to copy this, do it twice, because the token will be the same as the label in this case. So now we have that. So now we have a list. Now we just need to return that list. So we do menu list. And let's see if that works. No, why doesn't it ever work the first time? So what have I messed up here? Let's see, geometry, that is spelled correctly. Oh, I forgot an S here. Okay, cool. So now you see we have this menu, and we have sphere, but we also have like a lot of boxes. Why do we have that? It's just because, as you remember, Oh, where's my spreadsheet? So as you remember, it's just because that is mesh, which means that it's more than one point that have the attribute name box. So we need to filter that out, and that is quite easy. So the only thing we need to do is that we need to check if it's already in the menu list before we add it. So we do if not name in menu list. So let's say if this value, this name, is not in the menu list, then add it. Otherwise, not. So then we apply that, and now if we go up again, now we just have one sphere, one box, and one tube. Cool. So let's just do something with this. So I'm going to drop down a wrangle, an attribute wrangle here. I am going to check if the attribute name, if that is not equal to this menu, I go to channel string, and then we're going to go to this menu. If these two are not equal, then remove it. Something like this. Cool. And then we just drop down something like a copy 2 points. And a grid maybe. And now if we go up and have a look, let's close down these guys. If I select something here, you see I have spheres, boxes, and tubes. So yeah, not the coolest tool around, but you can see kind of like a neat thing to be able to do. So I hope that you found this useful, and see you next time.